Hey, ladies, welcome to another episode of the Revitalized Womanhood podcast, my To the Core episode, my Friday episode, where you get to hear all of my thoughts on the topics of our four core categories that we use here in the Revitalized Sisterhood, our private community. When we're setting our goals, our 90-day goals, we prioritize setting 90-day goals here. We call it our focused firing method. And we kind of narrow it down. Not kind of, we do. We narrow it down so it's more easily digested into four core categories of our life, right? We have our beliefs, our bonds, our body, and our biz. I've heard this discussed in terms of pillars. I've heard this discussed in terms of the 5 Fs: faith, family, finance, fitness, right? Those kinds of things. For the Revitalized Sisterhood and my purposes, I use beliefs, bonds, body, biz. And that's what this Friday episode is kind of, it touches on everything, right? It's me talking about anything that's affecting me in one of these categories because that is life. It's all encompassing of my life. And we are working on a really beautiful monthly topic. So April is basically the April showers into May, which May brings May flowers, right? So as far as digging into April, it's about digging into the reasons why we self-sabotage and why we have limiting beliefs. It's basically, imagine getting to the root of the weeds and pulling them out and preparing this soil to be ready for the May flowers, right? So May is all about putting back into ourselves and nourishing and encouraging growth and self-love and all the things. You get the idea though. April showers bring May flowers. So I want to read a little bit from the monthly topic that I have created for my community. I create a monthly topic each month for us to work on with questions and challenges and to discuss in the community that go along with a book as well. And this month we're reading The Mountain Is You by Brianna Wiest, which is incredible, like mind-blowingly incredible. It is so good. I think every one of us has been affected by this book in really great ways. Not so fun ways. I'm not going to say it's been pleasant. Very much a lot of things that make you go, oh, am I doing that? That's unfortunate. Well, but that's where the growth happens, right? Is to really feel those moments where you're like, well, that's not cool. And then you can work on fixing it. The problem, and once you've identified it, that's the identifying it. Whoa, what did I just do to my hair there? Once you've identified it, identifying it is hard. That is a hard part, being self-aware enough to identify what the problem is. Sorry about that. I had to put my headphones on because it's saying that it's not reading my microphone, but it is. Bah! I swear, the technical difficulties this week and last week, it's been like a thing. Well, and Rick borrowed my microphone yesterday and my headphones because they had 3 people recording on his first episode that they were recording over for M42. And so I took apart my studio for him, and now it seems to be functioning okay, but it's not saying that it is on my, it's not saying that it is right here. Anyway, I'm sorry about that, ladies. Hello, welcome to my world that is all over the place. And now I'm texting my husband telling him I'm recording. Oh boy, let's hurry and try to get through this. Okay, so this month, April, cleansing, removing obstacles, and getting unstuck, digging into why we get stuck. What about our limiting beliefs and all the things, right? So I want to read this to you. Out of the overflow of the heart, the life speaks. I was recording a podcast episode with Lisa Brown, and this was back in 2023. And she said this quote to me, and I loved it so much. Let the tears of 2022 water the flowers of 2023. And that totally resonated into this concept of we have to first get to the bad. We have to first, and maybe not all bad, some of it just is. We have to get down to the root and clear that away, whatever it is, the weeds, I guess, to be able to let the beautiful flowers grow, to give the flowers a chance to growing, right? The beautiful flowers that we are. All right. What is it in your past that's keeping you stuck in the present? Reminiscing about the good old days is harmless and often a burst of goodness that we need. But when you're stuck in the past, when you're constantly thinking about what if I would have gone down this road, or what if I would have married that person, or what would my life be like? If you're constantly living in those kind of thoughts, also the same can be said about if you're constantly worrying about the future or living for this is going to be better when, once I get there, once I do this. Do you see how that's not being present? That's not living in a world of gratitude, because you're not being grounded and grateful for the things that you have in your life today in the present moment. So I jumped on one of the calls for the squads in our community, and I just sat quietly. I turned off my Mom, come over here. I don't think this episode's going to happen right now. You know, those days where they say sometimes they want you and sometimes they don't care. Mom, come over here. Oh boy. All right, we're going to have to get back to this episode later tonight. Okay, I'm coming. This is exactly on topic of what I want to talk about in this episode. Living in the present moments and appreciating what they are for what they are. And this is a perfect example of that. So I'm going to go and live in the present moment and finish recording this later. So, seasons. Let's get back to this. Seasons. We are all in them. We all live in these seasons. Right now, I am living in a season of trying to slow down my life, slow down my thoughts, slow down my emotions, slow down, so what brought this up, this line of thinking, is I told you I was on one of the calls for the squads in the sisterhood today, and one of my leaders brought up that, let me read it to you. It's this concept that if you've been here long enough, you've heard me say before. I used to say it lots more, but I haven't said it in a while. So it's, so this quote, perfect love and acceptance casteth out fear. The metamorphosis is a change of the form or nature of a thing or person into a completely different one by natural or supernatural means. You've heard me say this before. If women were butterflies, we would be at least 50 different butterflies in our lifetime. We change so often. And each time notice that you will hear a common phrase. I need to find myself again. Right? Why? You're not lost. It's not like a page in a Where's Waldo book. You don't need to be found. You need to be reinvented. And for us, for our case, revitalized, right? You need to be revitalized. That's why I named my retreat, my annual retreat, the Revitalized Retreat, because that is the concept. You need to be revitalized. The most common and difficult thing for me has been evolving into and out of and around motherhood, because your body is quite literally changing as much as it possibly can in the spans of growing a child and then nursing a child, and right? So you're quite literally changing as much as you possibly can change, and then trying to get yourself back to what you were before. And that brings up a lot of this, what I was before, in our heads, these concepts of, I mean, obviously you have the clothing, you have the size that you were before. So it's not like it's a wrong thing. I'm not saying any of this is bad. It just is. It's what it is. It's a concept. And so, but it's a concept that I wish that we could expand our thinking on, because if you're constantly trying to compare yourself to what you were before, you're going to be forever let down, because that is a past version of you. Before you changed, before you went through this metamorphosis, before you changed into a completely new thing. So that's physically. Mentally, before I read this book, let's not be so overwhelmingly. Before I read this book, I had this line of thinking, and then I read this book, and it kind of opened my mind to new thoughts and new perspectives. And now I'm this. Like, I can't be the Gina I was before I read this, because now I've read it. It's like, what is it? What's that saying where they say, I can't unsee this. You can't unsee this. Like, if you accidentally walk in on your parents or something, like, I can't unsee this. Like, this is something I can't unsee. That's like me with scary movies. I can't unsee that. I don't like scary movies. I don't want to see scary movies, especially the creeper serial killery ones that I know happen. I was an emergency dispatcher. There are some things that are I'm not talking about serial killery, but there are moments from that time in my life that I cannot unfeel. I cannot unfeel that call I took. I cannot unfeel that moment. Oh my gosh, my husband again. I'm I'm trying to record. For heaven's sakes. This is a season. This is a season. Oh my gosh, you guys. Welcome to my life. Let's see if he calls back. Recording again. What now? Anyway, I'm so sorry. And this is where most people would just shut this off and delete it, but I'm not going to, because that is the whole purpose of this episode. This is my life. This is a season, and actually I really enjoy it. Like, I'm laughing because I think it's funny. But when I very first started this podcast, I wouldn't have thought it was funny, because I was so uptight about it. I was so like, it has to be this. It has to look like this. Blah! And now I've settled into what I am, and I know who I am, and I'm okay to be that, and I'm okay to share that with you. So back to this seasons. So one of my leaders, she was talking about this what I talked about, the metamorphosis, and she says, it's so interesting that I'm constantly trying to outdo myself. Like, I never feel satisfied that I've done enough. I never feel satisfied that I've grown enough. I never feel satisfied that I've learned enough. I'm always trying to top myself. And that's an interesting thing to think about as women, that the floor is never clean enough. The laundry is never completely done. I had this conversation with my friend Cassie, which you will get to meet her. She is my episode on Tuesday, so make sure you tune in on Tuesday. It's such a good conversation. It was her very first podcast. She's the owner of the Burn Boot Camp here in St. George. And she said to me, we got pedicures yesterday. So instead of, I've scheduled my time so that I specifically record or do my work, whatever needs to be done, on Tuesdays and Thursdays from 11 to 1, right? And that's the time that I let the baby go and hang out with the neighbor, and they play, and she's a stay-at-home mom and gets a little bit of extra money for helping me out. And that's a time where I know I can do these kinds of things. Well, so Tuesday came around, and I was like, I could do some work. I could totally get some things done. I could do the laundry. I could clean the house, which I had already cleaned to completion. I mean, on Monday, I had every single bit of laundry. You will never hear these words come out of my mouth again. So I want you to document this in your journals. Every piece of laundry in my house was done. No bras hanging on doorknobs. All the bras had their pads put into them. The sports bras had the pads put into them, put away. Everything, every bit of laundry was done and put away. And I was like, oh my gosh. And then my kids came home from school, and my husband came home from work, and it looked like my house no one had even tried to clean it. No one had even tried to do anything. Anyway, so it was Tuesday, and I'm like, well, here I go again. I could absolutely clean again. I could absolutely do the things that I literally just did yesterday, thinking, oh, oh, this is amazing. And then kaput when the kids got home, right? Kaput. It was worthless. What I did was worthless. It made me feel really good. For a good 2 hours of my day, I felt really proud of myself. Enough that I told my friend Cassie so Tuesday came around and I'm like, you know what? No, I'm going to go get a pedicure. I'm going to go enjoy that I don't have to record, that I don't get to record. I love recording, but I happen to not have anyone scheduled. So I thought I am going to go. And Cassie came with me and she made this beautiful statement about the laundry is never done. Like all of us putting so much pressure on the fact that there's always laundry or that the laundry's never done, right? The laundry's never done. Well, guess what? It's never done until you die. The laundry is never done. No, seriously though, until your kids move out or, some of you, your kids do the laundry themselves and that's great. That's amazing. This is just an example. But the toys will not always be on the floor. I showed my tornado of a living room to my good friend Kelly the other day and she's like, oh, I forgot. Like she's got, her youngest is now 8 and she's like, that doesn't happen anymore. I forget that that's what my life used to look like. It used to be a destruction of toys all over the floor. And she's like, that's not it anymore. And I miss that. And I'm like, oh, that's a perfect example of seasons. It is a season. They don't last forever. Is season like what do they call the words now? Like, for some people, it's a trigger word. Anyway, it's a season. Okay. I don't care. I'm not woke enough to know anything about anything. So why do we put so much pressure on ourselves to get to the next season? Why do we put so much pressure on ourselves that this can't be what this looks like? Why can't my house just look like this? I mean, if it's something that really bothers you, fix it. Do something about it. But if it's something that, like I said, I cleaned on Monday and on Tuesday, everything looked like I hadn't touched a thing. Maybe it can wait till one day a week and that's when it gets done and no big deal. And then after that, it's just, we're living in it. We're making memories. These are our kids. The toys on the floor, that is my kids' childhood. Those are their memories. Do I want them to remember me as the mom running around screaming, pick up your stuff? No, that's what my 2 oldest got for a very long time. That was the kind of mother they had. And it was because I did not feel secure enough, confident enough to let go of all of these supposed to's and concepts that I thought I was expected to be this kind of mother. I was expected to be this kind of woman, right? I've let those go now. Don't you worry. Don't you worry. Some of them creep in and now I just say, shh, no, thank you. All right. And then the next conversation got me thinking today, which I will probably do a whole nother episode on, is gratitude. I had one of my sweet members in my community talking about how she's having some feelings about some things that she's feeling like maybe she's not living her life in the way that she truly wants to be living. And I had to have a conversation with her and say, this is a season. Because you're not home with your kids right now, you're feeling so guilty and you're feeling like someone else is raising your kiddos. But the fact of the matter is that your income is necessary for your family. And that may be hard right now, but that's not going to be your forever. That's not going to be your forever. And while this might be you being taken away from them for this amount of time during the day, you still have them for this amount of time afterwards. So try to focus on what you're grateful for. Try to focus and shift your perspective on, and I know, don't you worry. I have lived in the suck long enough to know that someone coming along and saying, just be grateful, have gratitude is not the end all save all. It's not going to fix your life or make you completely just all of a sudden happy and look around and be fulfilled. It's not. I get it. It's a practice. It is something, but I do think that it is something that needs to be implemented. Absolutely has a place in your daily life to implement, because if you are able to see that the messy floor is my children's childhood. I look at those toys differently. I really do. I'm sorry. Am I cuckoo? Maybe. I'm sorry. If you don't want to listen to this, turn it off, whatever. These are my ramblings. It is my podcast. This is what it is. But if you are constantly just, I hate this house. And I had this rant the other day. I was that time of the month and I stomped around having this rant to Kelly and I said, I hate this house and I hate all this stuff in it and I hate blah, blah, blah. I had my pity party and my husband called me out on it. He said, okay, can the pity party stop now? And he's absolutely right. That's what I was having. I was having a pity party and I needed to check myself. I needed to let it all out. And then I needed to check myself and remember that I am so blessed to have the toys on the floor. I'm so blessed to have the clothes that are creating the laundry. I am so blessed to have a husband that can provide for me well enough that I can be a stay-at-home mom. But that was not always the case. It was a season. It's a season. I went to work. We lost everything. I always had a job. Always. My first baby stayed with his grandparents. And then when they couldn't do it as much, he went to another dispatcher, a friend of mine. He would be at her house while we had opposite shifts. So I would be the day shift, she was the night shift. And so it worked out perfectly because she would have my son all day, every day. And then she would bring him to me when she came to work and I would go home. It was wonderful. That was a season in my life. I did not have that time with him. I did not have those moments with him. But bet your ass when I did get home, I was giving him all of my attention and giving him all of my love. He does not feel like I was not there for him because I made sure that he had plenty of snuggles and plenty of kisses and plenty of my attention, right? I made sure of it. That was my decision and my choice. So this is now a rant. I'm so sorry. I'm not trying to have this be a rant. I just hope that lands for somebody, that maybe today you need to hear that you are, as long as you are trying, you are succeeding. Like, stop comparing yourself to everybody else. You don't know their story. You don't know, they're in a different place than you. They're in a different season. They started before you, or you started before them, or, that's so many concepts that we talk about all the time, because that's what it is in the world of social media, right? We talk about these concepts all the time. But it's good to have a little reminder, and it's good to hear it from a mom who has both perspectives. I have both perspectives. I was a working mom, and now I technically am a working mom, but I get to put him on the couch with a show on while I record a podcast. So, we do our best. We do our best, ladies. I'm going to leave you with this thought, okay? It's a quote from Gandhi. Be the change that you wish to see most in your world. And once you do, your life will change. Right? You create your own happiness. It has to start with you. You create the change. Be the one that creates the life that you want for yourself. It has to start with you. If someone else then needs to be brought into it, you have to advocate for yourself with that person. You have to communicate. You have to ask for things. You have to work at it. You have to try different avenues to making things work. If this way doesn't work, you got to try a different way, right? You have to pivot. Be the change. Yeah. Be the change don't be the change. Is that a Trump quote? Be the change. Is that, that's not what I mean. I mean, just be the change that you wish to see. It has to start with you. That's what I meant. All right, ladies. Wow. Another whirlwind episode. Another whirlwind episode through the chaos. Welcome to the chaos that I call my life. It's all right. It's fine. It's fun. I love it. So thank you for joining me for another Friday episode. And don't forget to tune in on Tuesday. Such a good episode. Did you hear this last Tuesday's with Ryan Hatch? Oh my gosh, mother of 8 children. If you did not listen to that episode, please go back and listen to that episode. So many good nuggets in there. She would just have been all over it with me on this topic. And if you are curious about all of these conversations that we're having in our private community, the Revitalized Sisterhood, please come and check it out. Come and learn more. Read the testimonials over at revitalizedwomanhood.com. Come read the testimonials of the women that are already in here doing the work, that would be in here doing the work with you, alongside you. Come check it out, and please do me the favor of rate and review this podcast episode or any others you hear. It goes a long way. It's a small gesture, and it goes a long way to helping me get this message out to all of the women. Let's keep it going, ladies. Okay, have an amazing weekend, and we'll see you next time.